The Court of Compliance in Hive Primus opens each day to the mechanical liturgy of servo skulls, drifting between preparation alcoves, their vox grills clicking through case numbers in monotone recitation. Docket 7799, Seditious Grumbling. Docket 8001, Tithe Variance. The skulls pause at workstations where scribes heat green wax in regulation braziers and arrange 3 distinct stamps in ceremonial order. G for guilt, bearing the Aquila's spread wings. P for penance, showing crossed chains. And the heavy M stamp, its surface worn smooth by generations of use, bearing the Emperor's halo intertwined with thorns. Jorik Thane waits at the brass rail, clutching a worn data slate, displaying his daughter's arrest warrant. Mira, 17 years old, stands accused of unsanctioned literary consumption, caught reading pre-imperial poetry in Hab block maintenance tunnels. The evidence: 3 data scrolls containing verses about starlight and freedom. Thane whispers prayers to the Emperor for merciful judgment, believing mercy represents divine compassion extended to the penitent. This belief constitutes a fundamental misunderstanding of imperial justice. In the 41st millennium's courts, mercy exists not as compassion, but as a bureaucratic function, a carefully managed resource serving state needs rather than condemned welfare. The disposition codes operate with administrative precision. G routes cases to terminal outcomes, P to managed suffering, and M to alternative custody arrangements. None define relief, all define routing. Senior scribe Matthias tracks the day's mercy considerations in the clemency ledger, a massive tome recording what the administratum terms mercy variance. Each court maintains statistical requirements. Mercy rates between 12 and 18% of total dispositions. Current variance plus 1.6%. From baseline within acceptable parameters. The Departamento Carcerum monitors these quotas monthly. Courts exceeding boundaries face administrative review. Courts falling below face correction. The scribes whisper about Judge Valdris, who once granted mercy in 23% of his cases. An anomalous swell the review board termed excessive leniency. His bench plaque was scraped clean during a maintenance blackout. His replacement maintains a steady 14% mercy rate and speaks only when rendering judgment. Valdris's absence serves as institutional memory. Leniency is a vector the court abhors. Above the preparation alcoves, lumen banners flicker with efficiency metrics. Throughput purity, 92.4%. Target, 92%. A sacristan measures the weight of each stamp and murmurs the right of calibration. The M stamp receives test impressions on vellum scraps, checked for clarity of skull and laurel. A clerk notes the die is within tolerance and remarks without humor. Mercy tool, calibrated. As morning preparation concludes, Thane watches the M stamp being blessed with sacred oils. Ritual appears benevolent, almost holy. He cannot comprehend that the stamp's weight represents not salvation, but administrative necessity. Mercy as quota fulfillment rather than divine grace. The servo skulls begin their final chant. Processing commences. The Emperor's justice flows through proper channels. Mercy serves the throne. In the 41st millennium, even compassion requires statistical management. What mercy truly authorizes remains unspoken in these halls, hidden behind bureaucratic euphemism that transforms human suffering into administrative efficiency. Court complexes rise from Hive foundations like administrative cathedrals, their design replicated across 17,000 worlds with mechanical precision. Each complex processes an average of 47,000 cases annually, their architecture serving throughput rather than deliberation. From orbital approach, these structures read as glyphs for order. At ground level, they function as instruments of systematic processing. The primary judgment halls tower 60 meters high. their vaulted ceilings engineered to diminish petitioners standing at brass rails. Acoustics amplify arbitrator voices through vox grills, while reducing defendant speech to whispers. Behind each bench, the Aquila spreads bronze wings fitted with recording devices that capture every proceeding for administratum review. Distance performs authority before words are spoken. The message is architectural. Individual circumstance dissolves beneath imperial procedure. Processing chambers occupy the complex's middle tiers, arranged in parallel like manufacturum assembly lines. Each chamber handles 40 cases per 8-hour shift across 3 daily rotations. Defendants enter through automated gates that scan biometric data and cross-reference criminal databases. Those receiving G dispositions exit through red corridors to terminal holding. P dispositions proceed through yellow corridors to penance evaluation. M dispositions enter mercy alcoves through blue corridors marked with the Emperor's halo intertwined with thorns. The mercy alcoves represent the complex's most curious architectural feature. These chambers, precisely 4 meters square, contain prayer benches facing portraits of the Emperor in his aspect as merciful judge. Climate control maintains 18 degrees, cool enough to encourage contemplation, warm enough to prevent despair. Defendants await secondary review in these spaces, often for days. The alcove's walls bear regulation inscriptions, mercy flows through proper channels, and the Emperor's compassion requires verification. Personnel hierarchy reflects systematic complexity. Arbitrators pronounce initial judgments but possess no authority over mercy consideration. That power belongs to mercy assessors, specialists trained in clemency evaluation protocols, identifiable by silver robes and efficiency ratings displayed on shoulder scrolls. Most enigmatic are departamento carcerum, liaison, silent figures in unmarked gray who coordinate alternative dispositions. They maintain offices in restricted levels and appear only during mercy processing. Their authority supersedes local arbitrators. Mercy consideration requires navigation of the 17-stamp approval process, identity verification, catechism, affirmation, biometric confirmation, sanctioned penance planning, loyalty declaration, tithe reconciliation, medical viability, transport availability, carcerum acceptance, administratum concurrence, ecclesiastical observation, mechanicus utility notation, risk assessment, quota accounting, supervisory countersign, documentation verification, final authorization. Each stamp represents a choke point where applications can stall indefinitely. The system distinguishes between administrative mercy and ecclesiastical mercy. Administrative mercy routes through secular evaluation, focusing on rehabilitation potential and resource optimization. Ecclesiastical mercy processes through parallel religious courts, emphasizing spiritual purification requirements. Both maintain separate quotas, yet coordinate through departamento carcerum liaisons with suspicious efficiency. Monthly transport schedules govern mercy disposition timing. Sealed vessels depart on predetermined dates, carrying mercy recipients to undisclosed facilities. Destinations remain, classified above court personnel. Clearance levels. Liaisons reference specialized processing centers and utility assessment installations, while emphasizing that recipients receive appropriate transitional care. The institutional machinery appears almost benevolent until one examines the statistical requirements. Each court must maintain mercy rates between 12 and 18% of total dispositions. Monthly reports track variance from baseline. Courts showing mercy inflation face efficiency reviews. Courts demonstrating mercy deficit receive capacity enhancement directives. The architecture of absolution operates through mathematical precision, transforming mercy from divine grace into administrative quota fulfillment. The necessitas compassionis emerged from the Horus heresy's ashes when imperial jurists confronted systematic betrayal's implications. High jurist Malcador Vex led the doctrinal architects who concluded that mercy could not remain spontaneous divine grace, but must become calculated state policy. If primarchs could fall to corruption, traditional justice required fundamental revision. The old language of individual clemency was struck from procedural texts, replaced by the maxim engraved above judgment benches across 17,000 worlds: mercy serves the throne. Pre-heresy. Imperial law recognized personal absolution based on circumstance and contrition. Post-heresy doctrine transformed compassion from divine grace into administrative tool. The shift reflected harsh lessons. Uncontrolled mercy created weakness, while systematized mercy reinforced authority. Citizens receiving mercy would understand their salvation as imperial benevolence, creating loyalty bonds stronger than fear alone could forge. The quota system emerged as the doctrine's practical implementation. Each court must maintain mercy rates between 12 and 18% of total proceedings, tracked through monthly reports to the Administratum's Justice Efficiency Division. These figures represent calculated balance, sufficient leniency to prevent widespread rebellion while maintaining fear of imperial law. Courts exceeding boundaries face administrative review questioning their mercy discipline. Courts falling below receive capacity enhancement directives requiring increased mercy consideration until statistical compliance returns. Senior Mercy Assessor Thorne begins each day reviewing quota status from her sanctum overlooking processing chambers. Current rate, 14.3%. Variance, acceptable. Her morning ritual calibrates empathy. Responses through standardized protocols developed by the Behavioral Analysis Division. Response 3. A. Acknowledge subsistence stress. Recommend penance plan theta. Response 7. C. Validate filial obligations. Note tithe arrears. Consider M pending transport capacity. She is timed on cases per hour, variance control, and error-free documentation. Compassion here becomes choreographed performance. Thorne's empathy responses are practiced techniques. Precise vocal inflection for deep regret. Measured pause before declaring the throne's magnanimity. Her shoulder scroll displays efficiency ratings updated hourly. Current standing 92.4%. Ratings below 85% trigger performance review. Ratings above 97% suggest insufficient scrutiny. The narrow acceptable range requires constant vigilance against both excessive compassion and inadequate leniency. Her position carries particular precariousness. Mercy assessors can be reclassified as criminals if their mercy rates fall outside acceptable parameters for 3 consecutive months. The Administratum terms this mercy variance criminality, treating statistical deviation as evidence of corruption or seditious sympathy. Reclassified assessors face the same mercy system they once administered. The Assessor Corps draws exclusively from former criminals who demonstrated rehabilitative potential during their own mercy processing. Thorne herself received mercy consideration 15 years ago for ration falsification during famine season. Her mercy processing included neural conditioning, behavioral modification, and intensive training in evaluation protocols. The system transforms its former victims into current administrators, ensuring profound understanding of punitive power while cultivating loyalty born of self-preservation. This recruitment practice creates inherent conflicts of interest. Assessors understand mercy's true cost through personal experience, yet must maintain the system's benevolent facade. The doctrine of necessary compassion has divorced mercy from individual circumstance, operating within predetermined statistical parameters rather than responding to genuine need or divine inspiration. Morning session begins with the mechanical liturgy of processing. Servo skulls drift between biometric stations, their auger arrays scanning retinal patterns and genetic markers while cross-referencing imperial databases. The air thrums with devotional efficiency, identity confirmed, documentation verified, processing authorized. Red lumens mark G corridors, yellow for P, blue for M, the trinity of imperial disposition rendered in colored light. Guild artisan Corvin Thale stands before Senior Mercy Assessor Thorn, his calloused hands trembling as stress monitors in the confessional booth register elevated cortisol levels. Tithe evasion, 14% shortfall across 6 months during the textile shortage. His workshop chose worker survival over imperial obligation. Thorn's voice carries practiced sympathy as she marks response 3A on her data slate. The throne recognizes subsistence pressures, but her evaluation considers not moral complexity, but bureaucratic factors. Processing capacity at 89% efficiency, monthly quota at 14.3%, transport departure in 8 days, with 17 available positions. A robed Mechanicus functionary enters without announcement, conducting utility assessment through augmetic scanners. The cogitator strip reads, dexterous ocular acuity optimal, neural compliance probable. Corvin receives M disposition pending transport availability. His artisan skills match current requisitions from Forge World Lucius. Hab worker Jenna Voss follows, accused of seditious grumbling after questioning ration reductions. Her recorded words, the Emperor provides, but administrators steal. Stress analyzers detect exhaustion rather than heretical intent, measuring emotional states as data points feeding clemency calculations. The distinction matters less than quota requirements and transport capacity. Mechanicus assessment, gross motor strength, resilient, speech compliant. Another M disposition, routed through administrative necessity rather than justice. Jorik Thane enters clutching his daughter's arrest warrant, his prayer whispered hope evident in voice pattern analysis. Mira's case, unsanctioned literary consumption, 3 data scrolls containing pre-imperial poetry about starlight and freedom. Thorn reviews not the crime's theological implications, but processing logistics. Utility assessment arrives like funeral ribbon. Fine motor aptitude, juvenile neuroplasticity, advantageous. The machinery transforms human desperation into routing decisions. Behind the benches, clerks advance stamps through the 17-step approval chain. Identity, catechism, biometrics, penance, loyalty, tithe, medical, transport, carcerum, administratum, ecclesiarchy, mechanicus, risk, quota, supervisory, documentation, final. Each seal represents leverage points for those understanding the machinery's operation. Writs of compensated penance arrive by courier, parchment laced with lead thread, countersigned by guilds and manufactoria. WCPs authorize organizations to purchase mercy recipients for contractual penance, compensating courts through tithe offsets and material credits. The system records acts of mercy while buyers acquire labor resources. Forge Worlds requisition skilled artisans. Mining consortiums bid on physically capable defendants. Research stations acquire educated criminals. Mercy becomes commodity exchange, disguised as divine grace. The clemency engine processes human suffering through administrative logistics rather than moral evaluation. Crime severity yields to capacity management, transport schedules, and utility ratings. By session's end, the Blue Corridor swallows mercy recipients who believe they've received imperial compassion. The reality involves systematic resource extraction, operating through bureaucratic precision, while maintaining the facade of mercy flowing through proper channels. Former senior clerk Matthias Vex operates from a modest office 3 blocks from Hive Primus Court of Compliance. His cramped chambers lined with procedural manuals spanning 15 years of administrative service. Vex learned Mercy's bureaucratic machinery from within, cataloging every bottleneck and variance point before establishing himself as a broker in the shadow economy surrounding imperial justice. His services reduced to simple mathematics. The 17-stamp approval process creates 17 opportunities for delay, acceleration, or favorable interpretation. Wealthy criminals purchase comprehensive assessment packages guaranteeing optimal mercy consideration. Lord Merchant Caney faces charges of tithe manipulation involving 3 million thrones. His assessment package costs 50,000 thrones and includes expedited identity verification, favorable biometric readings, pre-cleared transport placement, and assignment to Mercy Assessor Caldris, known for maintaining 16.8% mercy rates while emphasizing rehabilitative potential over criminal severity. Vex's network ensures Caney's utility assessment emphasizes administrative skills rather than physical labor capacity. The poor face Mercy's full bureaucratic brutality without guidance or acceleration. A laundress arrives with borrowed catechism scrolls and desperate hope. She receives penance plan theta and immediate assignment to a textile manufacturer's labor contract. A hab worker guilty of ration hoarding begs for mercy consideration. His utility assessment returns expendable musculature, routing him toward mining consortium requisitions. Mercy remains available, stratified by economic access rather than moral consideration. Vex maintains detailed reputation maps of court personnel. Certain mercy assessors develop informal specializations exploiting systemic complexity. Assessor Valdez handles technical violations involving regulatory compliance, emphasizing corrective potential over criminal intent. Assessor Mordian specializes in youth rehabilitation cases, interpreting doctrinal guidelines favorably for defendants under 25. Each maintains carefully calculated mercy rates while serving broker networks, channeling appropriate cases toward sympathetic evaluation. The 17 stamps represent bottlenecks. Bottlenecks become markets. Identity verification stalls on database synchronization, unless clerks receive devotional stipends for prioritizing urgent requests. Biometric confirmation requires scanner calibration. Technicians ensure optimal readings for clients demonstrating penitential generosity. Transport scheduling fluctuates with capacity. Vex's sources provide advance notice of availability changes. None term these arrangements bribery. Payment flows through gratitude tokens denominated as tithe offsets or hazard supplements. Vex's most valuable contacts wear Departamento Carcerum Gray. These liaisons possess institutional knowledge extending beyond court-level operations, suggesting coordination mechanisms operating above visible administrative layers. They reference utility quotients and resource allocation matrices governing mercy distribution, viewing compassion purely as resource management tool. Their information commands premium prices. Transport manifests cost 500 thrones. Facility capacity reports cost 800. Policy change notifications cost 2,000. Whispers circulate about special mercy facilities absent from official documentation. These installations handle exceptional cases requiring enhanced processing protocols. Standard mercy transports carry 30 to 50 recipients toward documented facilities. Special transports carry 5 to 10 recipients toward unmarked destinations. Vex's sources reference these facilities obliquely, suggesting existence while refusing detailed information. The corruption reveals Mercy's bureaucratization has created internal market dynamics operating parallel to official procedures, transforming imperial compassion into commodity traded through shadow networks. Cardinal Vexia's Court of Sacred Absolution operates within the Cathedral of Penitent Sorrows on Shrine World, Ophelia 7, where theological mercy diverges fundamentally from administrative clemency. Here, salvation flows through sanctified suffering rather than utility assessment. Incense servitors drift between confession alcoves, while choir serfs chant the litany of wounds, their voices echoing through marble halls adorned with the emperor's stigmata rendered in crimson glass. Ecclesiastical mercy begins with spiritual assessment conducted by confessor interrogators trained in detecting heretical taint within criminal acts. Unlike administrative courts measuring transport capacity and labor potential, theological evaluation focuses on soul contamination levels, requiring purification through calibrated ordeal. A guild artisan stealing sacred oils faces not servitor conversion, but ritual flagellation until spiritual purity manifests. A catechist found with apocrypha receives pilgrim brands and assignment carrying reliquaries across ash deserts until the brands heal naturally. Cardinal Vexia presides with surgical precision over cases requiring enhanced spiritual intervention. Her mercy takes forms that horrify secular administrators: voluntary limb amputation, demonstrating penitential sincerity; extended isolation in meditation cells, where recipients contemplate salvation through systematic sensory deprivation; ritual scarification, marking divine forgiveness upon living flesh. Each outcome emphasizes soul salvation over practical utility, transforming criminals into spiritual examples rather than economic resources. Jurisdictional conflicts emerge when defendants qualify for both mercy systems. Servo Skull technician Matthias committed tithe falsification while maintaining shrine machinery. His crime constitutes both regulatory violation and religious sacrilege. Administrative courts emphasize his technical skills, recommending assignment to Mechanicus facilities. Ecclesiastical courts focus on spiritual corruption, mandating purification through ritual blinding, ensuring his hands never again touch sacred mechanisms. Defendants shuttle between competing authorities like disputed cargo, their fates determined by arcane precedents rather than criminal severity. These conflicts require specialized arbitration through mercy arbitrator Caney, whose jurisdiction transcends departmental boundaries via credentials issued by Terra's High Lords. Caney resolves interdepartmental disputes with chilling economy, citing balance metrics invisible to local authorities while weighing pilgrim ship schedules against transport manifests. His presence suggests coordination mechanisms operating above visible bureaucracy, authority superseding both Cardinal Vexia and administrative assessors while serving institutional needs neither fully comprehends. Theological mercy often proves more brutal than administrative processing. Where secular mercy routes defendants toward predictable servitude, ecclesiastical mercy emphasizes creative approaches to redemptive pain. The ecclesiarchy produces archoflagellants, servo skulls, and cherubim rather than factory workers and miners. Theological justifications create alternative pathways serving different institutional needs. Administrative mercy maintains economic efficiency, while ecclesiastical mercy reinforces religious authority through visible suffering as devotional inspiration. Both systems claim divine mandate, while pursuing complementary objectives through systematized compassion. Mercy arbitrator. Caney's coordination role implies centralized oversight, ensuring competing approaches serve larger imperial strategy rather than conflicting institutional interests. The parallel systems suggest mercy operates through multiple channels, each harvesting human resources through different methodologies while maintaining the facade of imperial benevolence. Leaked administratum documents designated Theta 9 protocols expose the statistical machinery governing mercy dispensation across imperial sectors. Dashboard metrics track throughput purity, mercy variance, and deviance suppression index by court and quarter. Green indicates compliance, amber demands attention, red triggers intervention. When Hive World Necromunda's aggregate mercy rate plummeted to 8.3%, a catastrophic -4.7% variance from acceptable baseline. Emergency Directive Clementia. 7 unleashed immediate corrective measures. The cascade transformed justice into mathematical exercise divorced from criminal severity. Chief Arbitrator Voss received impossible instructions. Demonstrate leniency for capital offenses while maintaining imperial authority. A heretical cult leader responsible for 300 deaths was reclassified from seditious organization to misguided communal leadership, receiving mercy consideration through creative interpretation. A void ship saboteur, captured with evidence of deliberate airlock tampering, became a case of technical negligence, eligible for alternative custody. One desperate court granted retroactive mercy documentation to 47 executed prisoners, creating paper salvation to correct red variance indicators. Professional disposition reclassifiers emerged as mercy specialists, manipulating case classifications to meet quotas. Ionapel pioneered attenuation protocols, downgrading lethal charges to proximate culpability, eligible for M review. Magister Kier developed docket trading between precincts, exporting high-severity cases while importing minor infractions ripe for leniency. Their success measured not in lives restored, but in statistical curves bent toward acceptable parameters. Black markets flourished when natural mercy rates proved insufficient. Scribe guilds sold variance cushions, pre-printed affidavits and devotional endorsements tailored to the 17-stamp approval chain. Calibration technicians offered premium scanner settings, nudging stress and loyalty indices toward favorable thresholds. Departamento Carcerum liaisons leased transport slots weeks in advance. Passage on mercy vessels cost more than Habsel rent, less than execution avoidance. The contradictions multiplied on peaceful worlds requiring artificial criminal inflation to justify mercy infrastructure. Agri-world. Thessia averaged 47 monthly cases, yielding 10.6% mercy rate, insufficient for administrative requirements. Emergency protocols mandated expanded surveillance, broader sedition interpretation, and enhanced enforcement of previously ignored violations. Peace became administrative liability, requiring correction through systematically increased prosecution. Curfew lapses became tithe interference. Vagrancy became devotional negligence. Late shift. Changes mutated into conspiracy charges. Emergency mercy protocols revealed the system's true priorities when pressured. Truth yielded to throughput. Compassion yielded to compliance. Statistical manipulation suggested active institutional control over justice outcomes rather than organic legal processes. The machinery prioritized bureaucratic metrics over institutional purpose, exposing mercy as administrative performance rather than divine grace. Necromunda's crisis resolved through systematic manipulation. Mercy rates climbed to 13.2% within deadline through creative case management, retroactive documentation, and selective transport scheduling. Administrative commendation praised restored mercy discipline, while actual justice remained subordinated to statistical requirements. On Gyros 5th, mass proceedings will test these arithmetic reflexes at unprecedented scale. The numbers stand ready. Red lumens wash through Hive Gyros 5th like arterial hemorrhage, transforming familiar corridors into crimson arteries of imperial processing. The lockdown proceeds with mechanical precision. Blast doors seal hab blocks in sequence, servo skulls. Patrol empty thoroughfares broadcasting compliance directives, and 14,000 suspected cultists face systematic herding into macro-processing halls spanning entire Hive levels. Citizens huddle behind reinforced transparasteel while the machinery of imperial justice unfolds at unprecedented scale. This is mercy transformed from individual consideration into industrial operation, revealing the system's true capacity when statistical requirements demand mass compassion. The bureaucratic machinery strains under volume while maintaining operational precision. Emergency protocol. Clementia 7 activates additional processing streams, suspending individual efficiency ratings while preserving aggregate statistical requirements. Mercy assessors work 18-hour shifts, their voices hoarse from standardized empathy responses delivered to thousands of defendants. Senior Assessor Thorne coordinates 3 parallel evaluation streams, while cogitators calculate transport capacity and utility assessments in real time. The 17-stamp approval chain operates through pneumatic relay systems, clerks advancing documentation through mechanical networks while maintaining the facade of individual consideration. Servo skulls drift between brass rails, intoning case numbers like rosaries of the damned. Docket 7341, Transport Mercy approved. Docket 7342, Service Mercy authorized. Docket 7343, Terminal disposition confirmed. The trial becomes grotesque theater, where mercy and brutality interweave through systematic choreography designed to appear compassionate while maximizing efficiency. Defendants enter through color-coded gates, red for immediate execution, yellow for labor processing, blue for transport mercy, while the machinery sorts human lives with assembly line precision. Statistical necessities govern each. Disposition. Mercy rates must maintain 16% across aggregate proceedings, requiring 2,240 mercy dispositions balanced against 11,760 terminal outcomes. When mercy quotas approach deficit, petty infractions receive favorable interpretation. When quotas spike beyond parameters, red corridors open and executioners restore statistical balance through mechanical precision. Transport mercy operates through industrial regularity. Unmarked vessels designated Mercy Convoy 7 through Mercy Convoy 19 receive carefully calculated loads based on utility assessments and facility requisitions. Skilled artisans route toward Forge World Lucius. Physically capable defendants toward mining consortiums, educated criminals toward research installations. Each transport maintains manifest secrecy while Departamento Carcerum liaisons coordinate departure schedules with chilling efficiency. Service Mercy transforms suspected heretics into immediate economic resources through labor assignment processing stations, evaluating defendants for manufacturer placement, waste reclamation duty, or infrastructure maintenance contracts. Through the controlled chaos, Mercy Arbitrator Caney coordinates between departments with authority transcending visible bureaucracy. His commands supersede local arbitrators while directing transport scheduling, facility allocation, and interdepartmental resource sharing. Emergency communication channels connect him directly to Mechanicus installations, Departamento Carcerum headquarters, and Terra-based oversight bodies. His coordination reveals hidden infrastructure making mass mercy possible, vast interconnected networks of logistics and resource management operating beyond court-level administration. Caney's presence exposes centralized control mechanisms ensuring every condemned soul serves Imperial needs through systematic routing rather than random brutality. Jorik Thane and his daughter Mira surface during the Cascade's final processing hours. Their individual tragedy becomes microscopic detail within macroscopic horror as they stand pressed against hundreds of terrified citizens, the stench of fear overwhelming enclosed spaces. When their moment arrives, processing occurs without ceremony. Biometric confirmation, utility assessment displaying juvenile neuroplasticity, advantageous, transport assignment. The heavy M stamp descends with familiar precision, sealing their fate in blue wax. They disappear through mercy processing gates, believing they've received Imperial compassion, unaware their destination involves Mechanicus facilities, where mercy recipients undergo utility conversion. The systematic transformation of human resources into Imperial assets through neural modification and behavioral conditioning. The Gyros Cascade processes 14,000 lives through systematized mercy, operating at unprecedented scale, revealing the system's true capacity when bureaucratic requirements demand industrial-level compassion, disguised as divine grace. Transport ships from Gyros Theft traverse classified void routes toward coordinates absent from standard navigation charts, their holds containing 2,240 mercy recipients sealed in climate-controlled compartments. The vessels emerge in Rise's shadow, where Facility Primus drifts like a metal moon, its 17-kilometer orbital architecture unmarked by Imperial heraldry, yet bearing subtle Mechanicus cogwheel iconography. These are the Mercy Servitor facilities, hidden installations where transport mercy reveals its true purpose through systematic conversion of human consciousness into imperial assets. Facility Primus processes mercy recipients through industrial efficiency rivaling Forge World Manufactoria. Incoming subjects receive MSR designations, numbers inked onto skin then etched into bone, before routing to surgical suites where tech adepts perform neural modification with mechanical precision. Skull saws hum while cranial ports are cut and sanctified. Specific brain regions governing independent thought, emotional complexity, and moral reasoning undergo careful excision while preserving motor function, basic cognition, and compliance responses. Slivers of cortex remain by design, survived islands of sensation fenced by inhibition webs. The theological justification inscribed on facility walls reads, "Through the Emperor's mercy, the sinner is freed from sin's burden and serves the throne in righteous gratitude." The ecclesiarchy terms this, "the gift of remembered gratitude," enough consciousness to experience thankfulness for imperial salvation while losing capacity for further sin. Sin requires choice. Servitors possess no choice. Therefore, servitorization represents perfect mercy, eternal salvation through systematic removal of moral agency. Behavioral conditioning follows surgery through intensive neural reshaping. Vox masks whisper catechism, while photic strobes time obedience pulses. Compliance implants embedded in brainstems count task cycles and deliver microshocks on variants. Those meeting throughput targets receive absolution intervals, 30 seconds of unmodulated perception where most weep. Auditors note positive reinforcement achieved, while adjusting schedules to harvest tiers without reducing output. The facility's hierarchy reflects interdepartmental cooperation serving imperial efficiency. Tech adepts oversee conversion with emotionless expertise, viewing mercy recipients as raw materials requiring processing into functional components. Ecclesiarchy observers ensure spiritual compliance, documenting each recipient's gratitude, expression, post-conversion. Administratum auditors track efficiency metrics, conversion success rates, processing times, and servitor longevity statistics. Monthly reports measure facility performance against sector quotas requiring 24,000 annual servitor conversions. Facility Primus processes 2,000 mercy recipients monthly, shipping augmetic laborers to Forge worlds throughout the sector. Crates marked with Cog and Aquila seals depart on strict schedules. Riza's smelters on first day, Lucius's manufactoria on third day. Distant mining outposts whenever Mechanicus tugs cycle through. Manifests list mass, function, and devotional status. Names are absent. Expansion drawings hang in administrative offices. Annex secundus, doubled processing bays, higher cranial port density. Auditors project demand growth through 3.4 standard years as facility capacity strains against rising requisitions. Construction teams prepare additional chambers while equipment orders request enhanced surgical apparatus and expanded compliance implant inventory. Not every conversion achieves specifications. Retention incidents persist. MSR 7749 blinks excessively during prayer. MSR 2216 mouths a child's name. These anomalies require reconditioning, pharmaceutical suppression, or final disposal. The facility's success depends on complete consciousness suppression. Awareness threatens the theological justification underlying the entire mercy system. Mercy here represents the Imperium's most sophisticated slavery, a systematic transformation disguised as salvation, while maintaining the facade of imperial compassion through engineered gratitude and mechanical devotion. Designation MSR 7749 stands at Station Gamma 18 on Lucius. Torque wrench in left gripper, loader clamp in right. He indexes detonator caps into Mars-pattern shell housings at a fixed rhythm. Insert, twist, press, pass. The compliance implant in his brainstem ticks the cycle like a metronome. Green lumens for target cadence, amber for drift, red for shock. Around him, 6,000 mercy servitors labor in aisles of brass and smoke, their breath a damp hiss beneath the hum of conveyors. Conversion failed to erase him entirely. Thought gathers in eddies. He knows the smell of propellant, copper tang on tongue, the ache in phantom fingers where flesh meets augmetic plate. Awareness flashes, dim but coherent. It cannot cross the walls. Vocal cords answer only liturgical prompts. Hands obey task routines. When he tries to shape a warning, any warning, the implant delivers a white thread of pain that folds him back into motion. Fragments return unbidden. A narrow hab corridor. Warmth of a small hand. Words about starlight spoken softly, not as doctrine, but as hunger. A stamp descending on blue wax with a weight that felt like rescue. He tries to hold the memory, to connect the hand to a name. The compliance pulse scrubs edges from the image until it is only light without source. Facility protocols name his condition a retention incident. Category Theta. Preserved self-referential schema with impaired motor override. Management pathways are brisk and pious. First, additional conditioning. Photic sequences and audio catechism layered into rest cycles to erode remaining volition. Second, pharmaceutical suppression. A drip of soporifics titrated to dull curiosity without. Degrading throughput. Third, if indices persist above tolerance, 0.03 on the retention gauge, final disposal. Cranial resection and reroute to organist recov for nutrient reclamation. The ecclesiarchy observer signs each escalation with the phrase, mercy perfected. On Lucius, underground ledgers bloom in shadow. Line metasse, calibrators, and low-order scriveners compile samizdat reports called the imperfect silence, incident numbers, behavior notes, implant voltages, whispered names. They hide them in machine shrines behind votive plates, copy them to slates disguised as devotionals, pass them along with incense rations. A junior tech adept, Kessa 9, maps retention clusters by shift and bay, concluding that transport batches from Gyros 5 show elevated consciousness residues. Administratum auditors would call it an outlier. She calls it a warning. Resistance here cannot look like revolt. It looks like latency. A slowed handoff that drops a line's cadence by a hair, masked as bearing wear. A misentered serial number that misroutes a batch to lighter duty. A micro-adjustment to a compliance implant that lengthens absolution intervals by 2 seconds, enough for a sob to form and pass. Staff adopt new blessings. May your variants be merciful, and calibrate scanners to read piety where there is only pain. Among servitors, intent survives in traces. A patterned blink at the prayer bell, a shared stillness at cycle 1000. MSR 7749 uses his blink when the bell tolls. 212. He does not know what it means. He blinks because it is not the wrench, not the press, not the pass. Kessa 9 notices and does not record it. The ledger gains another line. Gamma 18, Theta persists. No further action. Mercy's ultimate horror is comprehension without agency. He understands what mercy cost and cannot refuse it. Cardinal Vexia's treatise, The Heresy of False Compassion, circulates through shrine world scriptoriums like theological contraband, its parchment bearing the seal of the Cathedral of Penitent Sorrows. The document challenges systematized mercy's fundamental premise through doctrinal archaeology, arguing that the emperor's mercy flows through divine inspiration, not administrative quotas. True mercy descends as lightning, sudden, brilliant, transformative. False mercy trickles through pipes, measured, predictable, corrupted by mortal calculation. The treatise dissects the necessitas compassionis with surgical precision. revealing how post-heresy jurists divorced mercy from divine will to serve bureaucratic convenience. Pre-heresy, imperial law recognized mercy as spontaneous grace requiring no statistical management. Post-heresy doctrine transformed compassion into resource allocation, governed by throughput requirements and facility capacity. Vexia's central argument pierces the system's theological foundation. Mercy that serves quotas serves not the emperor, but the machinery that constrains his will. Her followers begin conducting pure justice trials that bypass mercy assessors entirely, creating jurisdictional chaos across shrine worlds. These proceedings recognize only divine absolution through imperial intervention or immediate execution as the emperor's will. No transport mercy, no service mercy, no 17-stamp approvals, only the stark binary of salvation or damnation, determined through prayer and augury. Defendants face the Tarot Imperialis, while Vexia's acolytes seek guidance through rituals predating bureaucratic evolution. The theological resistance spreads through Ophelia 7, Dimamar, and 7 shrine worlds where ecclesiastical authority supersedes administrative oversight. Local arbitrators find mercy quotas impossible to maintain when defendants root through pure justice proceedings. On Hive World Tertius, mercy rates plummet to 6.2% as ecclesiastical courts refuse secular mercy dispositions. Departamento Carcerum liaisons arrive to find empty transport schedules and unfulfilled facility requisitions. The machinery of systematized mercy breaks down when theological authority withdraws cooperation. Inquisitor Thaddeus Crane receives dual mandates from Terra: investigate mercy system corruption while examining ecclesiastical resistance to imperial justice protocols. His preliminary findings reveal disturbing parallels. Both represent institutional antibodies against systematized compassion. The administratum corrupts mercy through quotas and utility assessments. The ecclesiarchy purifies mercy through elimination of administrative mediation. Neither serves imperial justice. Both serve institutional preservation through competing methodologies. The theological resistance creates vulnerabilities in the mercy system's fundamental justification. If mercy requires divine spontaneity rather than bureaucratic calculation, the entire infrastructure becomes heretical machinery, constraining the emperor's will. Vexia's followers argue that servitor conversion represents ultimate blasphemy, transforming imperial mercy into systematic slavery disguised as salvation. Underground networks documenting retention incidents like MESR 7749 provide evidence supporting their theological position. Jurisdictional conflicts multiply as competing authorities claim justice administration. Mercy arbitrator. Caney's coordination role becomes impossible when ecclesiastical courts refuse docket sharing. His travel ledger maps fractures across affected systems, while facility expansion plans stall due to transport shortfalls. The Imperium's institutions rouse like antibodies against their own systematized compassion, testing whether institutional fever represents heresy or cure requiring radical intervention. Inquisitor Thaddeus Crane's shuttle touches down on Mordian 7, bearing credentials that dissolve departmental boundaries like acid through steel. His rosette opens sealed archives, compels testimony from Departamento Carcerum liaisons, and grants access to facilities absent from official documentation. The comprehensive audit begins with methodical precision. Mercy variance charts spanning 47 worlds, transport manifests cross-referenced with hidden facility capacity, efficiency metrics revealing patterns invisible to local oversight. The investigation exposes systematic manipulation across every administrative layer. Court clerks demonstrate 17-stamp acceleration techniques for broker clients, while bureaucratic friction delays standard applications indefinitely. Senior Mercy Assessor Thorne's dual evaluation protocols emerge through encrypted communications, rigorous standards for the poor, flexible interpretations for premium defendants. Facility requisitions correlate suspiciously with transport schedules, revealing coordinated resource allocation rather than organic mercy distribution. Crane maps the shadow economy surrounding mercy trading, documenting Matthias Vex's networks that transform imperial compassion into commodity exchange. Former court officials monetize procedural expertise through access sales and selective information brokerage. The infrastructure spans multiple systems, suggesting coordination mechanisms operating beyond visible administrative oversight while maintaining plausible independence from central authority. Hidden servitor facilities emerge through manifest analysis, revealing destinations absent from imperial cartography. Facility Primus processes mercy recipients through industrial conversion, supplying augmetic laborers while maintaining theological justifications for systematic dehumanization. Underground documentation networks like Kessa 9's Imperfect Silence provide evidence of retention incidents. Conscious remnants like MSR 7749 who understand their transformation while lacking capacity for resistance. Jurisdictional conflicts between administratum and ecclesiarchy create operational chaos, as Cardinal Vexia's Pure Justice movement withdraws cooperation from systematized mercy protocols. Shrine worlds bypass mercy assessments entirely, disrupting facility quotas while challenging doctrinal foundations. Mercy arbitrator. Caney's coordination role becomes impossible when ecclesiastical authorities refuse docket sharing. The investigation pays off Judge Valdris's mysterious disappearance through archived penitentiary orders. Crane discovers designation Arctoflagellant 5001, offense listed as excessive leniency. Valdris now serves as walking deterrent against judicial compassion, his suffering a systematic reminder that mercy flows through proper channels or faces elimination. Crane's growing understanding transforms initial assumptions about corruption. The mercy system functions exactly as intended, maintaining imperial benevolence's appearance while maximizing resource extraction from criminal populations. Statistical manipulation ensures optimal throughput. Hidden facilities. Convert recipients into economic assets. Broker networks stratify access. By wealth. Jurisdictional coordination manages competing institutional interests. Corruption is algorithm, systematic design disguised as administrative failure. The Inquisitor faces fundamental choice between justice and stability, between exposing truth and preserving imperial governance's larger machinery. His final report will determine whether the system undergoes reform or expansion, whether institutional resistance represents heresy requiring elimination or evolution demanding integration. The investigation has disrupted established networks, forcing adaptation while revealing mercy's true bureaucratic architecture operating beneath compassion's facade. Inquisitor Thaddeus Crane's final report reaches Terra-bearing classification, Vermilion 7, strategic implementation, and recommendations that shatter institutional assumptions. His comprehensive audit concludes that systematized mercy represents evolutionary advancement rather than corrupted failure. The reframe operates through brutal logic. Random brutality creates martyrs and administrative waste, while systematized mercy transforms criminals into grateful resources while maintaining imperial benevolence's facade. His directive carries chilling clarity. Expand mercy protocols across all sectors rather than dismantling functional infrastructure. The Lex Clementia Harmonium emerges as Crane's primary recommendation, standardizing mercy protocols through unified evaluation criteria, eliminating jurisdictional chaos. Mercy arbitrators receive expanded authority, coordinating interdepartmental resource allocation, while the 17-stamp approval process becomes automated through cogitator networks. Statistical requirements govern mercy variance across planetary systems, ensuring optimal balance through centralized oversight. Mercy arbitrator Caney receives elevation to prefect mediator, compelling docket sharing between competing authorities through Terra-granted mandate. Servitor facility capacity expands through massive infrastructure investment justified as rehabilitation enhancement initiatives. Facility Primus becomes architectural template replicated across 47 worlds, processing mercy recipients through industrial conversion while maintaining theological justifications. Monthly quotas increase to 8,000 conversions per installation, supplying augmetic laborers supporting sector manufacturing requirements. Underground documentation networks face systematic elimination as retention incidents like MSR 7749 become classified operational details requiring administrative suppression. Educational integration represents the system's most profound evolution through cultural normalization, transcending administrative implementation. Schola Progenium curricula include mercy assessment training alongside tactical doctrine, teaching compassion as bureaucratic function rather than spontaneous emotion. The Catechism of Necessary Compassion becomes standard recitation, while parish sermons incorporate the Psalm of Measured Grace. Mercy serves the throne serves mankind. Future generations accept systematized mercy as natural imperial governance rather than institutional innovation. Implementation proceeds across multiple worlds with mechanical precision. Gyros Phi receives enhanced processing facilities handling increased capacity, while transport schedules expand meeting growing facility demand. Hive World Necromunda's artificial mercy inflation becomes standardized practice, justified through benevolent quota maintenance requirements. Cardinal Vexia's theological resistance collapses when inquisitorial authority endorses mercy systematization, her pure justice proceedings integrated with standardized protocols through doctrinal accommodation. The expansion reveals disturbing scope implications beyond criminal justice applications. New mercy categories emerge: chronic tithe deficiency, devotional negligence, cognitive vagrancy. Infrastructure capacity suggests broader population management potential, as educational integration creates administrative expertise applicable to any demographic requiring compassionate processing. Future mercy recipients might include political dissidents, economic inefficients, or ideological deviants through systematic expansion of mercy eligibility criteria. The reframe achieves completion. Mercy represents not corruption of imperial justice, but calculated evolution, serving strategic objectives through bureaucratic machinery, maintaining benevolent appearance while extracting maximum value from human resources. Systematized compassion becomes perfected population control tool, transcending traditional criminal processing through grateful compliance generation and resource optimization. Regional Mercy Coordinator Thorne addresses new assessors in the expanded training sanctum overlooking Hive Primus Court of Compliance, her silver robes bearing additional efficiency laurels earned through Inquisitor Crane's systematic reforms. The Lex Clementia Harmonium transformed mercy assessment from individual evaluation into standardized protocol, requiring comprehensive retraining across 47 worlds. She teaches refined techniques balancing statistical requirements with compassion's appearance. Measured vocal inflection for empathy responses. Precise timing for the 17 stamp approval process. And optimal transport coordination, maintaining facility quotas. The Mercy system achieves self-perpetuating status through institutional replication. Assessors train new assessors who establish additional courts requiring expanded servitor facility capacity. The Schola Progenium curricula now include mercy assessment alongside tactical doctrine, teaching future administrators that compassion flows through proper channels rather than spontaneous emotion. Parish sermons incorporate the Psalm of Measured Grace while citizens arrive with completed forms expecting routing as predictably as rations. Mercy becomes embedded in imperial legal culture as fundamental right, the right to serve, to contribute, to achieve salvation through systematic processing. Thorne demonstrates response 3A to Junior Assessor Valdez. The throne recognizes subsistence pressures. The inflection requires practice, sufficient warmth to suggest empathy without excessive emotion that might compromise efficiency metrics. Trainees learn empathy scripts indexed by circumstance, filial obligations, devotional negligence, economic hardship. Each response serves statistical necessity while maintaining benevolent facade. The goal remains constant: mercy rates between 12 and 18%, transport utilization above 90%, facility capacity approaching optimal threshold. Her evening routine reveals how systematized compassion becomes mundane administrative function. Transport manifests scroll past her data slate. Facility Primus requesting 2,400 recipients. Facility Secundus requiring 1,800. Specialized installations demanding specific skill categories. She approves writs of compensated penance, coordinates mercy convoy schedules, and reviews efficiency dashboards tracking sector-wide performance. A retention cluster alert from Lucius requires pharmaceutical suppression directive. Consciousness anomalies like MSR 7749 represent statistical variance requiring correction rather than humanitarian concern. The clemency ledger sits ceremonially on her desk, its pages recording mercy history through individual entries now superseded by cogitator networks. She opens to a marked page bearing familiar names: Joric Thane, Mira Thane, Gyros Convoy 12. The father's desperate prayer for merciful judgment has been answered through systematic processing, transforming his daughter into designation MSR 9912, operating plasma conduits on Lucius with calibrated gratitude and mechanical precision. His faith in imperial compassion remains intact while she serves the throne through utility conversion. Night Crew enters with the ceremonial stamps: G for guilt, P for penance, M for mercy. Thorn tests the M stamp on vellum, checking clarity of skull and laurel, worn smooth by generations of mercy dispositions. The heavy die descends into blue wax, sealing another rooting decision while a servo skull drifts overhead, its mechanical whisper carrying institutional satisfaction. Throughput purity, optimal. The mercy system operates with perfect efficiency, transforming imperial compassion into statistical precision, disguised as divine grace.